All right, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about Andrew Schulz because the fake outrageous laughing on his podcast just keeps getting worse somehow. I know you have to play it up a little bit for podcasts, but this is getting pretty bad. You know, people think that Jimmy Fallon and Bert Kreischer get carried away with it, but honestly, I think Andrew Schulz is worse than both of them. I mean, I don't think I've seen anyone else get this bad with it, but at least it is nice for the guests that go on his show because they probably leave the podcast thinking they're the funniest person alive, or thinking, what the hell was Andrew on? Because that's the only other explanation here. Like recently, Sebastian Maniscalco was on his podcast, and I'm sure halfway through it, he was thinking, is this dude all right? Like, what is going on here? I mean, he could barely even get one word out without Schulz and Akash just laughing uncontrollably. Like right here, they're talking about tipping valets, and Schulz says that Joe Rogan tips $200, and Sebastian's like, oh, that's a little aggressive. And then, of course, Schulz just loses it. And then he asks Sebastian if he tips them. And he's like, you know, every once in a while. And then Schulz, he does that move where he's laughing so hard he has to stand up and walk away, or like go wrestle with Akash or something. I don't know what he's doing. And then Sebastian's like, all right, dude, take it easy. Like, why are you walking around?
It's 100. Picks it up. It's 100.
Okay, that's aggressive.
Yeah.
He's responsible. He just said he was responsible. He's responsible.
Okay. So let's say you're drunk. What about the store or the improv back in the day? Like you're just dropping your car off.
Every once in a while, you tip those guys. Where are you going?
Where are you going?
I gotta stand up now. Sciatic pain. I feel like I gotta start moving around. Like I'm there every night.
What do you mean? What
Tip every time.
What do you mean every once in a while?
Once in a while, I don't.
Hey, you're right.
I generally park my own car there and then I leave. But every once in a while, I'll give the guy whoever's running, I'll give him $50 or $100.
Okay, but that's not in every single time.
That's not every time thing.
Why is
I don't know. It's just sometimes I don't have my wallet on me or whatnot. I don't have like cash available, and sometimes I'm like, all right.
Yeah,
I ain't tipping today.
You don't even have a car. See, New Yorkers don't have cars, so they don't even understand.
Well, I bought a fake Porsche, but then it broke down.
You bought a fake Porsche?
Yeah, fake Porsche.
Kid car.
Oh, a kid car.
Yeah, I bought a kid car.
On purpose?
He got hustled. There's a Persian businessman.
Yeah, but it's still over there.
Oh, Jesus.
Wait, you looking for a kid car?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, do you want a kid? I got a nice kid.
We can't just skip over what just happened
What
here.
just happened right there?
You don't know if you got a car?
You like that? You like that?
Did we shower?
You like that?
Just
Hot in here, right? Sorry, go on. Sorry.
because you're moving. You're standing up. So
It always gets hot when I do this podcast for some reason.
And it was like this most of the podcast. You know, pretty much everything Sebastian said, Andrew would start laughing like it's the funniest thing he's ever heard. And it's usually just him and Akash laughing this hard. You know, his other two co-hosts, the guys on the couch, Alex and Mark, they have normal reactions for the most part. You know, they laugh like normal people. Same thing with Sebastian. So seeing them compared to Andrew and Akash is pretty funny. You know, it's like his other two co-hosts are on a completely different podcast. But it's good because it shows how normal people react and probably how the audience is reacting compared to Andrew and Akash doing this fake forced laugh that just makes things awkward. And it's funny because Schulz talks shit about Seinfeld because it's not realistic enough and he thinks characters like Kramer are too over the top. But it sounds like he's just describing himself and how he acts on his podcast, where you're supposed to be more authentic compared to a TV show. And it's funny because one time Nate Bargatze called him out on it. He had the perfect response.
Didn't care for it. I was like, okay, these guys are quirky.
Now that I lived there, there's
That's what
things
you
that
thought
make more
at-
sense.
Like, look how
When
quirky
you were, like,
everybody
7
is.
years old?
7 years old. I swear to God, I put it on, and
Yeah.
I hated the way that Kramer would walk in. I'd be like, you're not gonna walk into someone's house like that. Like, I'm just not gonna let you in my house. Like, if you're gonna keep on bursting in the fucking door, it's just stupid.
I mean, you dance around in here all the time. Well, you know, you're the Kramer now, dude. No, what do you think? What are you doing? Like,
You gotta see my N-word bit too, bro.
And of course, Schulz responds to that by doing some ridiculous laugh. But at least he seemed to understand what Nate was saying. And also, this would be a good time to plug my Patreon account because I have a video about Kramer, you know, Michael Richards' infamous meltdown at the Laugh Factory, along with a ton of other stuff. So if you're interested, make sure you go check it out. I'll put a link in the description. But it's crazy for Schulz to say that Seinfeld is too over the top when on his podcast, which is supposed to be more realistic than a show, he's doing this kind of shit.
I would go, okay, what do you think he dropped on this? What do you think You know the first thing I thought when I came in here? I started trying to figure out, how much is the rent here? Or does he own it, right? That's the first thing I'm thinking. As soon as I walked in, I saw the bikes. I go, are those your bikes? Does everybody take a bike here?
Did I not call this? Did I not call this exactly?
Like, what is that? It's so unnecessary. It sounds like he's in pain or something, like somebody just stabbed him. I mean, it's like Schulz is just playing a character on his podcast. You know, nobody actually acts like this unless they're on drugs or something. But it's funny because he's also goofing on Steiny during that really awkward Nelk podcast for him not being authentic and being fake or something. But Schulz is always really fake during his podcast. You know, you could tell he plays it up so much. And even some of his fans are like, I try to defend him from the giggling and fake laughing accusations, but this is just too much. Like, maybe the worst part during this podcast was when Sebastian was talking about this movie he did with Robert De Niro, and it sounds like he didn't even really like the movie that much. So he was talking about how he bombed during one of his scenes, and he's trying to explain it, and it's like Andrew wants to explain it for him. Like, he is so excited about this. You could see him, he's like trying to hold it in, but then eventually him and Akash just start going off. And watch when the camera shows all of them, because again, you could see his other two co-hosts, the ones on the couch, they have normal reactions. You know, this is probably how people listening to the podcast would laugh at it. But then you see Andrew and Akash, and they're just taking things to a whole nother level. And it's funny that Sebastian's talking about how he bombed during his movie, because then when he acts out the scene for them, of course, it's like the funniest thing they've ever heard.
Even after the cut, you're like, that died.
Yeah.
So,
What was the biggest bomb you felt on set?
That one.
That 100%.
Yeah, that was definite. And because
Can you describe the scene for people?
So I'm like,
This is great.
I'm walking around. Me and De Niro are on
Just them in the room.
in a bedroom, and we're talking about my wife's side of the family. And I think the line was something like, "Yeah," and they're walking around like birds. I'm like, But I'm even watching it. I go, I don't think that's that funny. Even I said, as I was watching, I go, no wonder I didn't get a laugh. That sucked.
But in the room is just the two of them. So it's him and De Niro, and he's going for it. And you don't know in the moment is De Niro like going, this is the funniest shit I've ever seen? Is he egging you on? Or is he going,
I think he was even going, what are you doing?
No. Wait, why? Why?
Why? Because you saw it. I'm sure you were sitting in your seat going, what the is that? So, yeah, no, I don't know. It was a learning experience, that movie.
You got to say,
if you want me to get physical. it was... See, I didn't get that.
I see it.
I didn't even...
Nobody did that. And
nobody did that. That's what I was looking for in the scene.
Yeah.
See, I just started to do a little of it, and I'm getting laughs.
backed out, yeah.
It wasn't as committed, and it shows. It bleeds right through the film. You saw it. I was looking at it in the movie theater going, it's not funny. Not funny.
Well, it's funny to Andrew and Akash at least. And I like that he says, see, I'm getting laughs now people think it's funny, because I think these two would laugh at pretty much anything. But let me know what you guys think about it all down in the comments. And again, make sure you go check out my Patreon account. There's a ton of content on there, probably over 50 videos. Most of them are over 20 minutes. And there's just a ton of stuff to go through. So make sure you go check it out. A lot of people enjoy it. And then hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.